Hello and welcome to today's Bonnets to Boats video. Today we're moving into the realm of paint, and we're going to start with a light look at a canal art that keeps getting forgotten about, Brightwork. There are thousands of miles of canals in Britain, once worked by hundreds of different breeds of boat, and each produced its own unique form of artwork. Brightwork brought the wide boats and barges of the north to life, and is particularly attached to the Leeds and Liverpool canal. Construction of the Leeds and Liverpool canal started in 1770 at both ends, but took 46 years to actually join up. With one half of the canal in Yorkshire and the other in Lancashire, it was only natural that distinct differences would appear. On the Leeds side, the first boats that would have been there were the Yorkshire keels, while on the Liverpool side it was the Mersey flats. Both of these were similar, but unique in their own right, with quirks in design that allowed them to best deal with the tidal waterways they worked, and these parent boats would come to influence the design of vessels built explicitly for the canal, and ultimately on the paint that they would bear. There are particular differences between the Brightwork of Yorkshire and Lancashire, with the former being quite sober, using more lining and varnish work, while the latter is more spirited. You could argue that this is a demonstration of the people doing the painting, when various observers of the time commented that the men of Yorkshire were noticeably dour compared to the excitability of the men of Lancashire. These photos also show off a particular quirk, the Yorkshire chimney. Tall chimneys were a necessity for these boats. As you can see, the steerer is stood directly in front of where the chimney location is, and without a good height pipe, he will get a face full of smoke. While most boats had a single long metal chimney pipe, the Yorkshire chimney was made of wood and designed to be stacked, allowing for height adjustment. With the vast majority of the boatyards being on the Lancashire side, you probably won't be surprised to hear that you can split the variations in styles down again to the east and west of the canal, with East Lancashire paint being plainer and heavier, while West Lancashire was more flamboyant and elaborate. The decoration on these boats was predominant on the front and back of the hull of the boat, as opposed to on the cabins in the case of the narrowboats. These were broad, bluff boats, and many had transom sterns that lent themselves to ostentatious decoration. And because of the sheer size of the boats, the external cabin space wasn't usually large enough to warrant that much attention. The closer to Liverpool you came, the more you would find Brightwork's answer to roses and castles. While narrowboats stuck firmly with the fantasy castle scenes, Brightwork cheerfully painted whatever it wanted, from tall ships to cottages, windmills and forests. It is known that at the Whiteburk yard in Blackburn there was a selection of old postcards that were used for inspiration, and there's every reason to think that other yards would have had similar catalogue for ideas. Brightwork stood apart from the narrowboats in the floral department too, tending to replicate the varied flowers that you would see out in the countryside. Painters strove for more realism with their flowers also, and you could argue that the Brightwork painters tended to be more accomplished artists, if simply by the many variations that they churned out. Nothing in the Brightwork world demonstrates the artistry of that breed better than the water barrel. Like the narrowboater's water can, the barrel was often where the most art was lavished, with there being no holds barred as to what decoration was used. While most narrowboats in the south used a water can, the boats of the north gravitated to the much bigger water barrels. There's many theories as to why this is, from reasoning that a boat working in the Mersey estuary had less access to fresh water, to that they simply took advantage of the bigger storage space on the boat. There's an apocryphal story that the barrel became a must-have among the Leeds and Liverpool boats in the early 1800s, after a boater found a barrel full of alcoholic beverage bobbing around in the docks and fished it out. Not wanting to have to give it back, he quickly slapped some of the boat's own paint over it as a disguise and boated off. After the original contents had long since been drunk, he kept the barrel as a happy memento, and, trends being what they are, all his fellows started wanting their own gaudy barrel. As unlikely as this story is, It is, however, very true that paint was very much influenced by boat owners studying what their competitors had and asking the painters to replicate it. Sam Yates, in his and Mike Clarke's excellent book, relates how a boatman asked for a scroll on the rudder iron of his boat, but his boss refused it, saying, "Out of the question, everyone will want one." Their book, Brightwork, is a fantastic study of this beautiful art, and I'll put the link in the description of where you can get a copy of your own. Brightwork today is largely pushed aside and forgotten, as although the narrowboats and their art found a second lease of life in the pleasure boat world at the end of commercial traffic, the boats and barges that bore this paint did not, and within just a couple of decades they were all but gone. I hope that this video might spark your interest in this lovely art, and that you'll join me again tomorrow as we continue to look at some more of the canal arts. Thank you for watching, and see you again soon.